Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'll be informing everyone today about the late 1960s streets and drag racing, dealer windows boosted by 400 plus horsepower, and Detroit's and San Francisco's mean streets racing programs that battled the stopwatch. Yet in my class survey, only 1 out of 13 said they were interested in the engineering and racing angles. That tells me that this topic is relevant and knowledge gap worth closing in today's society. To prepare, I studied post drag racing book, fees info about the age of the muscle car, and road and track. They post magazines and do car stuff a lot, so me and my dad are paying attention to that. And the White House Power Heat Up. He really taught me a lot about the late racing days back in the day in White's book. So I analyzed my audience survey as well. In this talk, I'll explain 3 things about how competition in racing has escalated power, how marketing and ratings shape today's society, and what people believe about what power and how rules and insurance ended the war. Let's move from the parking lot though to the dyno rooms and racetracks where the war began. First, automaker rivalry in racing homologation in NASCAR and NHRA rapidly escalated engines and factory performance packages, and this was really during the South. A lot of people there, like Detroit, Alabama, Chicago, places up there, they were really doing a lot more racing than probably down here. They rapidly escalated engines though and factory performance packages from the mid 1960s to the 1970s. According to Post's 1994, manufacturers weaponized big blocks like Pontiac's 389 GTO, Ford's 427, Chrysler's 426 Hemi, and Chevrolet's 326 to 427 to 454, which is my opinion the best. My dad and myself have Chevelles, and we have big blocks in them, and I personally think that they're the best. They run really smooth. I mean, they're a dream to ride. It feels amazing. I mean, all of them built on the idea to win on Saturday and to sell on Monday. That was the main goal back in the day, to look good, drive good, be fast, and sell. I mean, what happened today? I mean, today it's way different, but let's get into that later. And to look from my experience, I told you that as already, I really do think that all the original motors from back in the day are better than the LS motors made now. I mean, there's just a lot more work. There's a lot more things to do on them. That's just my opinion. I learned a lot from Road and Track. It backs up the headline numbers that left fueled arms race. The 425 horsepower advertised for the 426 Hemi, and the 375 horsepower for the Chevy, that was 396. As the displacement race intensified from 1967 to 1970. In my own class survey, 4 out of the only 13 people, classmates, said racing matters most and shaping what gets built. That's exactly the point of those homologation specials, actually. Street cars, movies created so the factory could race something similar. When I asked a lot of people what's their favorite car movie, I got a lot of the same answers saying Fast and Furious. So I feel like that movie really implemented in a lot of kids' minds like today. I mean, everyone saw it. And I think that's a perfect example of racing culture. Second, marketing ratings practices, especially gross horsepower, often inflated or obscured true performance in period advertising. White reports that around 1968 to 1969, insurers began charging more and higher premiums for higher horsepower needs, which obviously makes sense. And obviously the models at the time were getting more advanced. There's different models for every car. You have the regular stock, regular stock, to the big blocks, to the 4 speeds, to the different crazy packages you could have. So at that time, things were really elite. Those were measured without full accessories though, sometimes under idealized conditions, which exaggerated real world output. Personally, I have a 1969 Chevelle, so I kind of already know like how it is and how the angles go and what the year is and like what's the best for it. In my opinion, 1969 is the best year for the Chevelle, the body look, and just everything in general. I mean, that's just my opinion though. Even the same with the Camaro. I think the 69 Camaro looks better than the 67, the 68. I think those two look better than the Mustang, the GTO, the Super B. I mean, just all those in general. I think those two cars just look better. Um, Road and Track explains some engines were underrated for classing for overrated for ads, creating confusion between brochure numbers and road test results. Since only 1 out of 13 people, classmates, had only heard of the horsepower war, was clarifying gross versus net ratings helped decode why the era's bold claims didn't always reflect what drivers really felt on the street and off the street. Federal emissions rules safety recommends rising premiums and fuel concerns curtailed by the war, 1971 to 72. Fees and posts describe how the 1970 Clean Air Act led to compression ratio cuts in 1971 and also 72 as well. Ratings on paper horsepower dropped, sometimes dramatically, even as durability, emissions, and compliance improved. White argued also notes how higher insurance premiums or regulatory pressures push automakers to tune performance and models and pivot marketing away from peak horsepower to the bullshit we drive now. Even classmates who don't really care about cars still encounter the legacy of this era. Maybe someone in their family still encounters it and still abides by it. And brand identities in films, Ford versus Ferrari is really out there. Even new car movies that are still made today are really popping. Mentioned in our survey, and my survey, of course, Fast and Furious, on the dyno rooms were quiet under new rules and rising premiums. The war faded, but it still echoes to this day. We still shape how we still talk about power, just not in America, but around the world. For examples like Reno, Germany, Japan, and places like that, they really still have amazing car laws and car things that make a lot more sense with parts and everything. So what should we take away today? By racing, how competition and racing escalated power, how marketing ratings, manufacturer perceptions, and how regulation and insurance dosed the flames. We can still better understand how chapter still influences American car culture today. And here's my take. I think cars back in the day honestly looked, drived, and honestly were made better. That's just my opinion though. There were just better parts, better mechanics, better manufacturers. It looked better than the cars that look now. I mean, cars now are really cheaper, they break down more easily, and they honestly don't look as good. But they obviously don't run as well. And that's just my opinions. Old schools are better and faster. Thank you for listening.